And right now I'm going to share my screen so we can start the presentation. And once it's up, Nicole, I will turn it over to you.
Sure.
Can everybody hear me and other, Nicole, can you say good morning so we can test your sound?
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
All right, good.
Awesome. Let me know if I'm too loud. Sometimes I get that, can you tone it down some? Okay.
It sounds like your voice is back in effect, Nicole.
Yay! I couldn't even talk 2 weeks ago, y'all. You wouldn't believe it, but couldn't even talk. So thanks for joining us this morning for our weekly update. Before I go any further, I'd like to introduce Alexa Pupillo is our a team member that's going to be doing the data analysis on the survey results and the interview results. I've asked her to join the call this morning in case we have any questions regarding the data requirements. And every time I say her name, my Alexa thinks I'm talking to her.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Alexa's joining us. Thank you, Alexa. And Chuck, who we affectionately call the Cloud, who monitors the survey platforms and gives us the updates on the numbers, is on the call. And Jafredo Granger, our other team member, Sharon Moore and Greg McLean, who are not on the call this morning. So we'll go ahead and get started. Again, this is the timeline, the community assessment timeline, and we are still in the phase where the surveys are being disseminated and circulated so that we can try to get those numbers. We are still extending the survey links, having them live through December the 10th, which is only about 11 or so days. So we're still plugging along with that. Alexa has joined us so that she can start the preliminary review and assessment of the survey responses, as well as the interviews, questionnaires that the team has been doing for those who opted to do in-person interviews. Next slide. By now, hopefully everyone is familiar with the survey platform as you have taken it as a respondent, or you have disseminated it to your lists of your distribution lists and your contacts and had a chance to see the different surveys. We also circulated some QR codes that could be scanned from smartphones and what have you, so that the survey is accessible that way. Our team is still set up at the Melrose Library and has been participating in meetings wherever possible, talking with people coming in and out of the library and other locations. I'll get to some other stuff going on. We're still reaching out to faith leaders in the community. We were provided a list of faith leaders, churches, other organizations that would be able to assist us in disseminating the survey and or scheduling interviews. So that is currently ongoing. Next slide. Again, here are the survey links. The Chuck and I, with the Cloud, we go in every so often and test them to make sure that they're still active, that they're still working, and so that we can anticipate any troubleshooting if there happens to be any issues related to the survey. But as far as we know of, all of the survey links are still active and live and are functioning. Next slide. These are the QR codes. If anyone wants the QR codes that were generated for the resident survey, as well as the youth service provider surveys, we have QR codes. They're not on the screen, but we have those available if you would like to request those to disseminate as well.
They should be up on the screen. Do you see those?
I just see two. I see the youth service provider and the community resident. Oh, there they are.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, so they're all on the screen now. They're all there. So we have QR codes generated for each of the survey types. Next slide. All right, and these are our current numbers to date for the survey responses as of this morning. You can see we are doing extremely well in the resident surveys. I was wondering if, I guess when we start taking a look more into the survey responses, if we have some maybe community leaders or some in other categories that are participating in the resident surveys, if they're participating from that perspective. So as we get more into it, we will, Alexa is very good at funneling down into individual responses. And Alexa, feel free to chime in if you need to about collecting the data and how we're looking at the data. The baseline goal we set was 60 to 75. I think that was a very good goal to reach. So we still have a little bit of work to do. The numbers have increased since our last meeting for the student and youth surveys, as well as the youth serving agency. And hopefully with some things that we have planned coming up, some more meetings that we have coming up, a lot of phone calls that we still are making to the community members, those numbers will continue to rise. At our internal meeting that we had last week, I believe we talked about incentives for the student and the youth surveys, and maybe incentivizing them through gift cards. We found out that it was allowable under this program, and we're looking into purchasing gaming gift cards, McDonald's gift cards, looking for ideas of other gift cards that we can use as incentives. We're open to suggestions. And the swag material, we're still in the process of collecting items and assembling those swag bags that we can use also. As a reminder, if your agency or organization has any swag material that you would like to contribute to the cause, please reach out to us or either have them dropped off at the Melrose Branch Library. We are set up in a conference room there, and we can get the swag materials to the team members, and we will be putting together those swag materials. Next slide. Also, now that we are in the home stretch, I want to re-emphasize that if there are any meetings, events, standing meetings, any scheduled things that you have at your organization or the location, or if you know of any that we can leverage to get in front of the youth, talk to them, get their participation, pass out some flyers, pass out some business cards. We also had business cards made that Jafredo is going to be picking up today that has the QR codes on them as well. So everywhere we go, we can pass out business cards that have the scannable QR codes. If you would like electronic copy of the flyers to post on your social media pages, your social media sites, please let us know. We appreciate all of your efforts in posting and using your social media platforms to get the word out. And it has been paying off, as you can tell by the resident survey numbers that have gone up dramatically. And we are still scheduling, right now, we are still scheduling interviews in person. So reach out to Jasmine Tolliver. Her email address is on the screen. For those that would be interested in a telephone interview or in-person interview that we can set up at the Melrose Library, or potentially come to your location to do that as well. We're open to all options as we drive home this last little over a week or so to get these numbers up. Next slide. We worked on a script that you could have last week when you're talking to your customers, the youth, the parents that are coming into your organization. Just a brief script that kind of introduces the concept and tells them a little bit about what we're trying to do. We're happy to say that the Roanoke Public Schools did disseminate the survey. We got the information out through their portals. So thank you to the Roanoke City Schools for getting that out. And there's the script on the screen. I'd like your feedback on that. If anybody has any feedback or needs any further information. There was also an article published, I believe, in the newspaper that talked about the community survey as well.
Yeah, Nicole, I think what's important is to take the essence of what's here and adapt it to your audience and the people that you reach out to. I think we wanted to convey that as a community, we've really been hurting as a result of all of the violence. And out of that hurt, we want to find ways to not only bring healing, but to bring solutions. And one of the best ways to bring solutions is to let your voice be heard. So if there are ways that you can adapt this and communicate it and then share the links, that will help us get our message out and get the best comprehensive response that we can.
Absolutely, Jonathan, I'd be happy to. There was a request to send the flyer to post. I will absolutely send the flyer. We talked about the incentives and the swag bags for the assessment. Between the hours of 10 and 4, we're at the Melrose Branch Library. They're in our room and are available to receive those. If the team members are not there because they're out doing interviews or what have you, the nice library staff said that they will keep them for us until one of us drops back in and picks it up if we happen to be out running around doing interviews or what have you. But for the most part, there is always a presence there at the Melrose Branch Library. Next slide. And here is our contact information. I'll be updating this slide to include Chuck and Alexa. Chuck is who we call the cloud, who keeps all the data, and Alexa is our analyst. So I'll be adding their email address and their information to the slide as well. Feel free to reach out to any of us. We're available. If there is anything that we can do, any suggestions that you have, our lines are always open. Am I missing anything, Joe?
Nope, I think that's the overview. We'll open it for questions that you all have. I think that one of the things that was on one of the slides that I think is helpful is if each organization could set a goal for how many youth you'd like to reach. Just start with a simple goal of 10 families, and find a way to, walk them through that process and help them see the value of giving their voice to this and being a part of the creation of solutions for our community. Sometimes an assessment like this can seem so big, but really what makes it not so big is if we just do our piece of it. And I would say, all of you who are on this call, in addition to being connected with youth service agencies, are also community leaders. So I would say pick 10 to 15 people that you know in the city of Roanoke, and share the links out with them and encourage their completion of this. We're getting great response from community residents, which is fantastic. But because this is a youth and gang violence community assessment, it's really critical that we get as many youth involved as well. Yes, we will send the PowerPoint presentation out to everybody on the call today, as well as any other updated information. And we will be scheduling another meeting like this the first part of next week. So watch for a confirmed date for that as well. So I'm going to open it up for questions that any of you may have that either I can answer. Angela, go ahead.
Question, just a thought. Have we thought about potentially hitting the mall? I know there used to be back in the day in my time where people would walk around the mall with a clipboard and do surveys. Considering there was a shooting in the mall, And this is holiday time and a lot of our youth are running around the mall. I know when I went in there, I seen a couple of my youth and I opened it up on my phone and just asked them the questions. But is it possible to have a team out at Valley View a couple days a week and just stop people and ask them would they mind having some input on what should happen with our youth or what's going on in our city?
That is absolutely possible. And now, with the students being, like you said, out on break and everything, and we have the business cards now and the flyers that have the QR codes on them that can be relatively easy to access. That is something that we will schedule and do.
And I'd be willing to volunteer if need
Oh,
be.
thank you. Thank you. We're open to volunteers. Everybody join the team.
I would suggest that it'd probably be good to call the management office out at Valley View and confirm with them the protocol to do this. I think they would be open to it, but I'd want to make sure that we.
It's the same way.
I think they do it, but that's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's good.
Thank you, guys.
thank you. Patrick says through the mall kiosk, we could also look to rent that advertising space to put in our QR codes and messaging. That's a great idea.
That is a great idea. That is a great idea.
Patrick, is that something you have information about in terms of cost and what the advertising costs are?
I have no idea. I did something in the previous job many years ago, so I'm sure that cost has changed and it could be different depending on what we message. But and I know the locations of those kiosks have different prices, but that would be through the mall management to see what it looks like. I think it would be a cost-effective way to reach a lot of people, especially since they're QR code based. It'd be probably a lot easier than trying to staff people to walk around, hound people down, but I have no idea.
That's a great idea though. And maybe Nicole, when we're reaching out to the mall offices, we can ask both of those questions.
Absolutely.
While we've got the libraries on here, Amber, I see you. Sorry, and Amanda, totally calling you out in a good way. We, in our kind of internal meeting last week, we were wondering, our libraries are high traffic areas for a lot of our youth and families. And we had talked about having laminating the QR codes and maybe having those available at some of the different library branches. Do you all have, are you open to that? Do you all have laminators?
We have laminating sheets that we can use, but we also, at some of the branches, have like placemats where our self-checks, where we check out items that we can put sheets like that under it so that when we're checking out people, we can, point to the desk where the QR codes can go. And then we have, because of our plexiglass right now, because of our social distancing and COVID protocols, we can also tape QR codes to those too. And just, it's more about educating the staff on pointing out the QR code and explaining and having that conversation with the family to let them know what it is and encouraging them to participate.
Great.
But we'd be, of course, happy to do that.
Thank you. And the other question we had, we've had some requests for hard copies of the surveys, and we're glad to print those out. And we wondered if we could deliver, if it'd be easier to deliver some of those to some of the library branches, or if it would be easier to send the documents to you all to print out some.
So probably both. I mean, we can print them off here at the library, of course. If you have a marketing budget where you're printing them off anyway, just give them to Amanda. She can put them in the totes and get them out to all the branches. So we have a couple hard copies. Again, it's more of an education piece on our side of things as far as making sure the staff's aware, and we'll make sure that piece happens. But yeah, we'll take whatever copies you have, and then the links too that they'll have for the survey where we can print them off from the desk.
Thank you. And we do have a marketing budget for this. So if any of you need assistance with some marketing efforts, please let us know, and we can certainly help that happen.
If I could jump in real quick, I just want to let you know that the team was at our big program the Tuesday before Thanksgiving and was able to reach, we had 209 people show up for that. It was a Star City Safe program. And they were socializing and they were doing surveys. And so thank you so much for the flexibility of that. I know it was a holiday week. I know it was after hours and it was kind of crazy in here, but I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. You've been wonderful to work with just in an office space as well. And I just wanted to give you guys props and appreciation because I know you're really trying to get out in the community. So I appreciate
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
What other questions do you all have?
Hey, Joe, this is Elliot. I can't remember the exact number on the slide, but the youth service providers seem to be the biggest pool of potential survey respondents. Is there anything we can do specifically to incentivize that group to hit their targets? You know, I like the plea, you know, saying, hey, can you just set a target and, you know, get 10 or 15 people? But is there anything else that we can do? You know, maybe like 1 or 2 people that are just calling, you know, those point of contacts and those numbers and tracking that, you know, if there's 80 youth service providers, you know, how do we drill down into that particular segment and try to extract more respondents? Because as you said so adequately, this is a youth-centric survey.
Yeah.
You know, not a resident-centric survey.
I think that's a great question. And I'd like to hear from you all. With these surveys being anonymous, we're not collecting any names so we don't really know which youth service providers have completed the survey, which is a bit of.
But I mean, but they can still say, I know for a fact, like say I'm Elliot and I run some youth service provider. I can say without saying a name, I've got my 10. I know that my 10 got done, or my 15 got done.
Right.
Without disclosing names of individuals who actually participated. Which means you gotta work to get it done. Like, hey, I got these guys and these ladies, and they came into this room, they did the survey, and I rewarded them with the gift card or swag bag. And, you know, so I can account for my X number of people.
Well, I think one thing that would help is to hear from some of you this morning. For those of you who have done some of this already, would any of you be willing to share some of the outreach that you've done and the effectiveness of it? I know that, Patrick, you mentioned that you had, why don't you start, Patrick, and then I'll just open it up for other providers and partners to share a little bit about the strategies that you're using, and then also what incentives would be helpful to you all.
Thanks for putting me on the spot.
Sure.
Yeah, at least through programs we're doing with our after school program, we were able to get a flyer home to every family. So that's about 120 kids right now. And we've also been through that memo we sent home. We also were kind of just sharing with those families that we were going to be asking the students as well to do it on site. So we've got an iPad that we're passing around, maybe 2 of them that we're passing around through the program. I think we'll get more participation this week to have the students personally fill them out. And then other ways that we're reaching people, we did through our social media channels, Play Roanoke, put it on Facebook. We had it on our website for a little bit as a slider page. I just looked, it's not up there now, but I know we're transitioning our webpage right now, so there might be something lost there. Incentives, I think that idea right now is kind of tough for me. I think it's hard. I don't know why, but I feel like it's difficult to try to incentivize people for this one. It seems like it's very broad, but I'm gonna put some more thought to it. Another thought I had as far as places we could potentially market is some of the bus stops that have shelters spaces. And if we do laminate, I was looking on Google Maps for one close by. So on Patterson, there's one that has a bus shelter. If we laminated something and have permission to put stuff in there, that might be a good spot. Yeah, we've got the stuff posted at our centers too, but it really just caters to those 120 kids right now that we have coming through the doors. I think you guys mentioned that a flyer went home with students, every school student, is that correct? That could be a winner. I know we just did a flyer for our after school program and we got a lot of response for that. And it got into the hands of every student in our school system. And that was not difficult to make happen. And if people do look through their kids' backpacks, at least wadded up at the bottom, there's potentially you'll get a lot of response that way as well.
Patrick, what was done through Roanoke City Public Schools was a robocall that included information about the surveys, and then an email was sent out through RCPS to their list with a link to the Roanoke City's page that has the surveys on it. And we will be reaching out to the city schools to see if they can re-up that request in the next week.
Yeah, I think I may have gotten that email. I've got a 5-year-old in kindergarten. I know a lot of the families that we work with, email is not the best way to get a hold of people. I don't know why. But yeah, that piece of paper in the backpack went a long way. And we just, like I said, did a push for our after school program had some vacancies, and we actually got responses from families at schools that we don't even have a program. So that was kind of nice to see that as well, to track that data, to show that, the after school childcare childcare in general is desperately needed here in the city, and trying to figure out ways to accommodate is key. That's a whole nother problem. We can create another committee for that one later.
Thank you, Patrick. Others, we've heard a little bit from the libraries. Anita?
Take me a minute. Good morning. Yeah, thanks, Joe. I was just wondering if there was any other possibilities to get more media coverage. And I was going to ask Chris if hopefully there's an interview that's going to happen this week. But I was wondering if other media coverage could be promoted, because that's another way of incentive, encouraging folks to take the survey. And then I wanted to ask, I guess if you're listening to the conversation, because it does seem like there's a huge return as far as the residents taking the survey, but don't we also want to really get more input from our youth? So I'm wondering if some of those numbers have gotten intermingled. But my question is about the media coverage.
So yes, there has been some pretty good media coverage. Chris and I did an online Facebook Live interview with WDBJ7 last week. I know we've got one scheduled for WFIR on the radio. I believe there's one that you mentioned, Anita. What we can also do is send out a release, an update release to the media to see if we can get some additional support from them in pushing this out. That's a great idea.
Great.
And Ms. Price, I do have a online media interview with Ms. Kiana Price, WFXR-TV today at 12:15.
Oh,
Talk
it's
about the
today?
assessments. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know? Well, I guess you'll find out when it'll be aired.
I don't know when it's going to be aired. I know we're scheduled to record at 12:15.
Great. Okay. So be looking. I would say that's going to air either tomorrow or Wednesday. But Joe, as soon as we find, or Chris, if you could let Joe know so that we can help promote it. The show will air from 9 to 10 when that interview is scheduled.
Wanted to capture just a couple things in the chat before we lose them. So there are some incentive ideas that were included here. Chick-fil-A was included. I think social media advertising is a great idea on some of the different platforms, and we will look at that this week. Reaching out to the local barbershops to put the QR code up there. We can certainly make that happen as well. Other folks on the call today, what are some things you're doing to help get the word out, and what types of incentives or information might be helpful to you?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Brenda.
Well, we had our youth council meeting yesterday evening, and they were very receptive, and they were eager to fill out the form. And Javion, he had it filled out. He was taking notes from the meeting, and he was filling out the form at the same time. So they're very excited about the form and the survey. And I think it's helpful that they talk among their peers. I think this is an excellent way to get that information out. Is when you have one youth talking to another youth and encouraging them to fill it out. So that's what we're doing with the Roanoke Branch NAACP Youth Council.
Thank you, Brenda. That's a great strategy. I think peer-to-peer is one of the best ways to encourage response to these. Jonathan Pate, I'm going to put you on the spot. Actually, Josh Johnson is putting you on the spot. He mentioned in the chat box that the YMCA used to do some one-day passes for youth camps. Is that something the YMCA still does? Would something like that still be an option for an incentive?
Oh, thanks, Josh. No, we can check on that. You know, we've done day passes, and we've given away some week passes as well for some promotional purposes. But I can check on providing some day passes for camp. We've got winter camp starting up here in a couple of weeks, so that might be an option as far as some incentives are concerned. So we kind of plan on getting that flyer from Nicole and putting that on our Facebook, and I'm going to try to get it on our website as well. And also, I like what Patrick said about getting it to the parents. We could certainly do that too in our after-school programs, getting the flyers to our parents for them to fill out as well. So we're going to be, shooting some things out here shortly for the assessment.
Nicole, is this flyer one that could be adapted? Is this one that was used for the Hands of Hope event?
Yes. However, that one cannot. It'll be hard to get that adapted, but we do have another flyer that's a little bit more direct to the point, simplified, that has the QR code and the link on it that we can adapt a little bit easier.
I think
so that's the one that I would actually recommend sending out and having it placed on it. It has the commission logo like the other information does, and the links and the QR codes on the flyer.
If you can send that to me, Nicole, or resend it to me, I will send that out after this meeting later today, so that all of you have access to that and can share that out. And it'd probably be good to send it as a JPEG,
yes,
as well as a PDF.
Got it.
I use that language like I know what I'm talking about. Other recommendations or questions?
So, oops, hello. I think my video just went out. This is Christine Gist speaking.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, everyone. Representing the Roanoke Prevention Alliance and Resiliency Collective. we have the Roanoke Youth Leadership Alliance, RILA, and they meet at the Boys and Girls Club. So we did not feel it was appropriate to hand out the survey to the youth that are housed in the Boys and Girls Club. That came back from my supervisor, that we just wanted to, since they were meeting in that establishment, we needed to make sure that we weren't overstepping anyone's parental guidance. And that I wanted to touch base and see if we have somebody that's already that works within the Boys and Girls Club, that we can outreach to make sure that the surveys are accessible there. And
I don't know if we have anyone on the call today, but I would just reach out directly to Michelle Davis, the executive director.
okay.
She's very aware of the assessment and supportive of it. And depending on what their kind of internal protocols are for working with the youth, I think that'd be a great collaboration.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I wanted to follow up on that, and I was, hopeful that they were already involved in it. My other question is, we do have swag items. Is there a number that you all are looking for? Particular items that you would rather have? We have hand sanitizer, masks, water bottles, etc.
Whatever you can spare. We whatever you can spare. Of course, when you take donations, you don't want to, you can't tell people how much to donate. So, but we'll take whatever we can get.
Okay, I'll be bringing it by Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
I didn't know Michelle Davis, but to Christine Gist, I did speak with Calvin Curry last week, and they're on board with getting that survey pushed out to their youth, in that program over there.
That's great, Chris. Yeah, Calvin's a great contact too. So he's their director of operations. So good job. Well, thank you all for your time this morning. Again, we'll send out a link to this recording as well as the PowerPoint presentation and the flyer. Look for in the email information about our next update meeting. We appreciate you all. At any point, please feel free to reach out to Nicole and her team. They're doing a tremendous job for us, and we're grateful for them. And to all of you for your help with this. This is above and beyond what you're already doing every day to make such an important difference in the lives of our community and youth. And we just want you to know how much we appreciate each and every one of you. So everybody have a good day. And again, any questions, reach out to me or Nicole, and we will get you the resources that you need. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Love y'all.